Listen carefully. 3 years ago, I was exhausted despite sleeping 8 hours, anxious despite having everything, hungry for something I couldn't name. I thought I needed more motivation, better habits, positive thinking. I was wrong. What I needed was what my ancestors knew, but modern life had stolen from me: the ability to generate power from within. Not borrowed strength from others, but dangerous energy that comes from my own system. This audiobook contains the knowledge that changed everything. Not theories or concepts, but practical techniques that work whether you believe in them or not. The same energy mastery that made ancient warriors legendary is waiting inside you right now. Your energy has been stolen long enough. It's time to take it back. They sold you motivation when you needed power. Listen carefully. Every morning, millions of men wake up and reach for their phones. Success stories. Watch motivation videos. Read quotes about grinding harder. They consume inspiration, like addicts chasing a high that never lasts. This is the great deception. You've been taught to seek energy outside yourself, to find power in other people's words, to depend on external motivation to fuel your internal fire. And while you're busy consuming motivation, your real power withers. The motivation industry is a multi-billion-dollar machine built on one simple lie: that you need someone else to give you strength. They sell you courses on mindset, books on positive thinking, seminars on success secrets, all while your true energy source sits untapped, ignored, forgotten. Your ancestors didn't need motivational speakers. They didn't require daily affirmations or morning routines designed by lifestyle gurus. They had something you've lost: direct access to their own power, source. Think about it. A warrior preparing for battle didn't watch YouTube videos about confidence. A hunter tracking game through winter didn't need someone else to tell him he was capable. A craftsman building with his hands didn't require external validation to know his worth. They had something you've been taught to ignore: internal energy mastery. But here's what they don't want you to know: the motivation industry profits from your weakness. Every time you seek inspiration outside yourself, you leak a little more of your natural power. Every time you need someone else to pump you up, you admit that your internal fire isn't burning bright enough. This isn't your fault. You were raised in a system designed to create energy dependence. From childhood, you were taught to look outside for approval, to perform for others' appreciation, to measure your worth by external metrics. School taught you to crave gold stars from teachers. Sports taught you to play for the crowd's cheers. Social media taught you to live for likes and comments. Your job taught you to work for someone else's approval of your value. Every system you've encountered has trained you to leak energy outward instead of building it inward. The ancient masters knew better. They understood that real power comes from within, that sustainable strength is generated internally, not borrowed externally. They built energy systems that made them formidable, not for a day or a week, but for life. Chinese warriors cultivated qi through practices passed down for thousands of years. Indian yogis developed techniques to harness prana that made them seem superhuman to outside observers. Japanese samurai mastered ki in ways that gave them legendary presence and power. They weren't relying on motivation. They were tapping into something deeper, older, more reliable than any external source could provide. This knowledge was systematically suppressed, not through conspiracy, but through cultural shift. The industrial age needed workers, not warriors. The consumer age needed buyers, not builders. The information age needed scrollers, not sages. Each era pushed you further from your internal power source and deeper into external dependency, until now, when grown men can't make decisions without Googling advice, can't take action without watching someone else do it first, can't access their own strength without borrowing it from others. This is the theft, not just of knowledge, but of your birthright as a man. Your natural ability to generate power from within. Your inherited capacity to be dangerous when necessary, strong when required, unshakable when tested. But here's the truth they can't steal: the source is still there. Hidden under layers of conditioning and cultural programming, your energy system waits. It hasn't been destroyed, just buried. Every time you feel that flash of real anger at injustice, that's your power stirring. Every time you experience genuine desire for something meaningful, that's your energy calling. Every time you feel truly calm in the face of chaos, that's your system activating. The difference between men who command respect and men who beg for it isn't talent or luck or circumstance. It's energy mastery, internal power generation, the ability to access strength without asking permission from the outside world. Watch a man who has this. He doesn't need to tell you he's confident. You feel it radiating from him. He doesn't require validation because his internal system is generating power constantly. He doesn't seek motivation because his fire burns from within. This isn't genetic superiority. It's not natural talent. It's not privilege or advantages. It's knowledge. Ancient, practical, accessible knowledge about how to build and maintain your energy system. But first, you have to stop the leakage. Every motivation video you watch is an admission of internal weakness. Every inspirational quote you need is evidence of energy dependence. Every time you seek external pumping up, you're training yourself to be internally weak. Cut the motivation addiction. Stop consuming other people's energy and start generating your own. Quit looking for external sources of strength and start building internal sources of power. This isn't about becoming antisocial or rejecting all outside influence. It's about developing energy, independence, the ability to generate strength from within, not just borrow it from others. Your ancestors understood this instinctively. They lived in a world that demanded internal strength because external support might not be available. They developed energy systems that worked whether others approved or not, whether circumstances were favorable or not, whether they felt like it or not. That's the system you're going to reclaim. Not motivation that fades, but power that endures. Not external dependency, but internal mastery. Not borrowed strength, but generated force. The theft ends here. Your energy awakening begins now. Real strength isn't felt in the muscles, it's felt in the bones. Every ancient civilization knew about life force. The Chinese called it qi, Indians called it prana, Japanese called it ki, Greeks called it pneuma, Egyptians called it ka. Different names for the same invisible energy that creates, sustains, and powers everything. Then something happened. This knowledge disappeared from common understanding. Not gradually, suddenly. Within a few generations, what was considered fundamental truth became mysticism. What was practical knowledge became religious belief. What was teachable skill became supernatural claim. This wasn't accidental. The industrial age needed workers who found strength in machines, not in themselves. The consumer age needed buyers who sought power through products, not through practice. The information age needed users who believed in external solutions, not internal systems. Each shift moved humanity further from energy mastery and deeper into material dependency. Ancient practices that developed superhuman capabilities became dismissed as primitive superstition. Traditional knowledge that created legendary warriors became relegated to museum displays. But here's what they couldn't erase. The energy is still there. The system still works. Your body still contains the same forces your ancestors commanded with supernatural skill. Think about what you've lost. Your great-grandfather could probably work from dawn until dusk without the chronic fatigue that plagues modern men. Your ancestors could fast for days without the blood sugar crashes that cripple contemporary workers. Traditional peoples could walk vast distances without the joint pain that limits today's adults. They weren't genetically superior. They were energetically trained. They understood that the human body isn't just flesh and bone. It's a complex energy system, capable of extraordinary performance when properly cultivated. They knew techniques for generating power that modern medicine dismisses as impossible, despite overwhelming historical evidence. Ancient warriors could fight all day without exhaustion. Traditional hunters could track prey for weeks without breaking down. Indigenous peoples could survive extreme conditions that would kill modern humans within hours, not through technology or equipment, but through energy mastery. They knew how to breathe in ways that generated superhuman strength, how to move in patterns that built internal power, how to eat foods that enhanced life force rather than depleted it, how to rest in ways that restored energy instead of just preventing collapse. This knowledge was passed down through bloodlines, preserved in secret societies, guarded by spiritual traditions. It wasn't written in books because it couldn't be. It had to be felt, experienced, embodied through direct transmission from master to student. Then came the great forgetting, the systematic replacement of internal wisdom with external authority. Instead of learning to feel your own energy, you were taught to trust experts. Instead of developing your own power, you were sold products. Instead of mastering your own system, you were given prescriptions. Modern medicine treats the body like a machine with replaceable parts, ignoring the energy that animates the machine. Modern psychology treats the mind like a computer with programmable software, ignoring the life force that powers the computer. Modern fitness treats muscles like mechanical equipment requiring fuel and maintenance, ignoring the invisible current that makes movement possible, all while the real source of human power remains hidden in plain sight. Feel your pulse right now. That's not just blood moving through vessels, that's life force in motion. Take a deep breath. That's not just oxygen exchange, that's energy circulation. Move your hand in front of your face. That's not just muscular contraction, that's directed life force. Ancient masters could feel these currents as clearly as you feel heat or cold. They could direct this energy with the same precision you use to aim your eyes or control your voice. They could generate power at will through techniques that engage the body's natural energy systems. The Chinese mapped energy pathways through the body with scientific precision. Indian yogis developed breathing techniques that could alter consciousness at will. Japanese martial artists learned to project power that seemed to violate physical laws. They weren't superior beings. They were ordinary humans who understood extraordinary principles about energy cultivation and direction. These principles still work. The pathways still exist. The techniques still generate the same results. Your body still contains the same potential that created legends throughout history. But you've been taught to ignore it, to trust external sources over internal wisdom, to seek power through consumption rather than cultivation, to believe that human potential is limited to what can be, measured by machines rather than what can be developed through practice. This is what they don't want you to know. You are far more powerful than you've been taught to believe. Your body contains energy systems that dwarf any technology. Your natural capabilities exceed anything modern life demands. Your innate strength surpasses what contemporary culture considers possible, not through genetic luck or supernatural gifts, but through knowledge. Ancient, tested, practical knowledge about how to access and direct the life force that flows through everything. The masters who possessed this knowledge weren't trying to create believers. They were training practitioners. They didn't want followers. They wanted students who would eventually surpass them. They weren't building religions. They were teaching sciences that religions later adopted and often corrupted. Pure energy cultivation has nothing to do with faith or belief. It's about direct experience. Tangible results. Measurable improvements in strength, endurance, focus, and presence. You can feel it right now if you know where to look. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. That rhythm isn't just mechanical, it's energetic. The force that moves your blood is the same force ancient warriors learned to command for superhuman performance. Breathe slowly and deeply. Feel the expansion and contraction. That process isn't just chemical, it's energetic. The power that fills your lungs is the same power traditional masters used to generate extraordinary capabilities. Stand up and move. Feel the coordination and balance. That isn't just neurological, it's energetic. The intelligence that guides your movement is the same intelligence indigenous peoples developed to superhuman levels. The knowledge is waiting, the system is intact, the power is available. All that's missing is the understanding your ancestors took for granted, that human beings are energy systems first, physical bodies second. Everything else flows from this recognition. Once you grasp this fundamental truth, everything changes. Not your beliefs about what's possible, but your direct experience of what's real. Every distraction is a leak. Every addiction is a drain. Your phone buzzes, you check it instantly. A small stream of energy flows out of you and into the device. You scroll through social media. More energy drains away with each swipe. You watch videos of other people living while your own life force diminishes. You close the app, but the damage is done. Another energy theft complete. This happens hundreds of times per day. Every notification is an energy demand. Every advertisement is a power extraction. Every scroll session is a vital force transfer from you to systems designed to harvest your attention and convert it into profit. You're not consuming content. Content is consuming you. Think about how you feel after a long social media session. Tired, empty, restless. That's not psychological, it's energetic. Your life force has been systematically drained through 1,000 micro-extractions. But social media is just one vampire. Modern life is full of energy thieves operating at every level of existence. Your job demands energy, but gives you money, an unequal exchange that leaves most men chronically depleted. You spend 8 hours generating value for someone else's dream, while your own power withers. You trade your prime energy for compensation that can never restore what was taken. Processed food promises convenience but steals vitality. Every meal of refined sugar and artificial ingredients deposits toxins that your system must spend energy to process and eliminate. Instead of fueling your body, modern food forces it to work harder just to maintain basic function. Entertainment promises relaxation but delivers stimulation addiction. Hours of passive consumption train your nervous system to crave external input rather than generate internal presence. You become dependent on screens for stimulation and lost without constant distraction. News promises information but delivers anxiety. Each headline about disasters you can't control floods your system with stress hormones designed for immediate action in response to direct threat. Instead, you absorb the chaos of the entire world while sitting helplessly in your living room. Pornography promises pleasure, but steals sexual energy, your most powerful creative force. Each artificial stimulation session drains the vital essence that ancient traditions considered sacred. What should fuel creativity, confidence, and magnetic presence gets wasted on pixels and fantasy. These aren't moral judgments, they're energy audits. Each of these activities extracts more life force than it provides. The cumulative effect is a chronically depleted man who feels tired despite rest, hungry despite eating, lonely despite constant connection. Your ancestors didn't face these particular vampires, but they understood the principle. Energy that flows out must be consciously replenished, or the system gradually weakens until collapse. Traditional peoples lived in environments that naturally restored what was spent. Physical labor under natural light, real food that provided more energy than it required to digest, social connections that filled rather than drained. Meaningful work that strengthened rather than depleted. Modern life reverses every equation. Artificial light disrupts natural energy cycles. Processed food demands more energy to process than it provides. Digital connections stimulate without satisfying. Meaningless work depletes without building anything lasting. The result is an epidemic of men who feel empty despite abundance, tired despite leisure, weak despite safety, anxious despite comfort. The external circumstances have improved while the internal energy system has been systematically compromised. But here's what the vampires don't want you to know. Once you identify the drains, you can close them. Once you understand the theft, you can stop it. Once you see the patterns, you can change them. Start with awareness. For one day, notice every time your energy shifts. When do you feel depleted? What activities leave you empty? Which people drain you? What environments weaken you? Which habits steal your vitality? Don't try to change everything at once. Just observe. Watch your energy like a trader watches markets. See the flows. Notice the patterns. Identify the leaks. Most men never do this basic audit. They wonder why they feel tired without examining what's exhausting them. They search for energy sources without plugging the drains. They try to fill a bucket without fixing the holes. The average man checks his phone 96 times per day. Each check fragments attention and drains focus. The cumulative effect is scattered thinking, shortened attention span, and chronic mental fatigue. Your ancestors could concentrate for hours without distraction. Modern men struggle to focus for minutes without reaching for stimulation. Put your phone in another room. Notice the withdrawal symptoms, the phantom vibrations, the urge to check, the restless anxiety. That's not boredom, that's addiction. Your nervous system has been conditioned to depend on external stimulation for internal stability. The same pattern appears everywhere. You eat when you're not hungry because food companies engineer products to trigger artificial cravings. You consume entertainment when you're not genuinely interested because media companies design content to hijack reward systems. You seek sexual stimulation when you're not truly aroused because porn producers create material that bypasses natural attraction patterns. Each artificial trigger trains your system to depend on external input for internal satisfaction. Over time, your natural ability to generate contentment, focus, and pleasure from within atrophies like an unused muscle. This is the deepest theft of all, not just your energy, but your ability to generate energy. Not just your power, but your capacity to build power. Not just your strength, but your knowledge of how to cultivate strength. Ancient masters understood that the highest protection wasn't walls or weapons, it was energy, independence, the ability to generate power internally regardless of external circumstances, the capacity to maintain strength whether the environment supported it or not. This isn't about becoming a hermit or rejecting all modern convenience. It's about conscious energy management. Choosing what to engage with and what to avoid based on its effect on your vital force. Some modern tools enhance energy when used consciously. Technology that serves your goals rather than hijacking your attention. Food that nourishes rather than depletes. Entertainment that restores rather than drains. Social connections that strengthen rather than weaken. The key is intentionality. Everything in your life should either build energy or be eliminated. Nothing should be allowed to steal power without providing greater value in return. This requires saying no to most of what modern culture offers. The vampires are seductive. They promise easy pleasure, instant gratification, effortless connection, but they always extract more than they provide. Real power comes from the discipline to choose difficult building over easy draining. To invest energy in your own development rather than others' entertainment. To feed your own fire rather than watch others burn. The theft ends when you stop participating. Your energy returns when you stop giving it away. Your power rebuilds when you protect it like the precious resource it is. Every energy leak you plug makes you stronger. Every vampire you eliminate restores vitality. Every drain you close increases your available power for what actually matters. Your flesh is the foundation. Everything else is decoration. Stop reading. Close your eyes. What do you feel? If you're like most men, the answer is not much. Maybe some tension in your shoulders, perhaps awareness that you're sitting or standing, a vague sense of your body existing in space, but beyond these basic sensations, probably nothing. This is the problem. You live in your body, but you can't feel it. You inhabit a sophisticated energy system, but you're disconnected from its signals. You carry around the most advanced power generator on Earth, but you don't know how to read its outputs. Your ancestors lived differently. They could feel energy moving through their bodies like rivers through landscapes. They sensed tension before it became pain, fatigue before it became exhaustion, imbalance before it became injury. Their bodies spoke to them in a language modern men have forgotten. This wasn't supernatural sensitivity. It was practical necessity. Hunters needed to feel their energy reserves, to know how far they could track prey. Warriors needed to sense their power levels to judge when to attack and when to retreat. Workers needed to gauge their strength to know what they could accomplish and what would break them. They developed body awareness the way modern men develop computer skills, through constant use and gradual refinement. It was a survival tool, not a spiritual practice. Life or death depended on accurate internal information. You've lost this capacity through disuse. Modern life requires very little body awareness. You sit in chairs that support your posture. You drive cars that transport your weight. You use tools that multiply your strength. You consume pills that manage your pain. You live in environments that regulate your temperature. All the feedback systems that developed your ancestors' internal awareness have been replaced. Said by external supports. Your body has become like a car you drive without ever checking the engine. Functional until something major breaks, at which point you need expensive professional intervention. But the scanning system is still there. The neural pathways still exist. The ability to feel energy flows through your body hasn't been destroyed, just neglected. Like a muscle that's weakened through lack of use, it can be strengthened through conscious practice. This isn't meditation, this isn't relaxation, this is reconnaissance, military assessment of your primary weapon, your physical system. Before you can direct energy, you must be able to feel it. Before you can build power, you must know where power lives. Start with your feet, feel them against the ground or floor. Not just the pressure points, but the entire surface. Notice temperature, texture, weight distribution. Feel your feet like a foundation holding up a building. Move slowly up your legs. Feel your calves. Any tension, any looseness, any areas that seem energized or depleted. Notice your knees, your thighs, your hips. Don't judge what you find. Just gather information. Feel your pelvis, your lower back, your abdomen. This is your power center, the core, where your deepest energy generates. Most men are completely disconnected from this area, aware of it only when it hurts. But this is where your strength originates. Continue scanning upward, your chest, your shoulders, your arms. Notice where you hold tension, where you feel open or closed. Where energy seems to flow freely or get blocked. Your body is telling you stories you've never learned to hear. Feel your neck, your head, your face. Notice areas of tightness or ease. Your jaw probably carries more tension than you realize. Your forehead likely holds more stress than you know. Your temples might reveal information about your energy state that your mind hasn't registered. This first scan will probably reveal how disconnected you are from your own body. That's not failure. That's information. You can't fix what you can't feel. You can't strengthen what you can't sense. You can't direct what you can't locate. Most men live from the neck up, vaguely aware that a body exists below but having no detailed knowledge of its condition. It's like trying to drive a car by looking only at the windshield while ignoring all the gauges and warning lights on the dashboard. Your body contains more sensors than any machine ever built. Temperature receptors that can detect minute changes in heat. Pressure sensors that register the slightest touch. Chemical detectors that analyze everything from blood sugar to hormone levels. Position monitors that track your location in three-dimensional space with precision no GPS can match. But these systems only work when you pay attention to them. Like any information network, the body-mind connection requires conscious engagement to function optimally. Without regular scanning, the signals grow weaker, the sensitivity decreases, and you lose access to vital data about your system's condition. Warriors understood this intuitively. Before battle, they would scan their bodies like pilots checking instruments before flight. They needed to know their energy levels, their tension patterns, their areas of strength and weakness. Their lives depended on accurate self-assessment. Ancient masters made body scanning a daily practice, not for spiritual reasons, but for practical ones. They knew that the body is the foundation of everything else. Mental clarity depends on physical condition. Emotional stability requires bodily awareness. Energy direction starts with energy sensation. You can rebuild this capacity faster than you might expect. The neural pathways are still there, just dormant from lack of use. Regular scanning practice reactivates these connections and restores your internal feedback systems. Practice this scan daily, not as meditation or relaxation, but as intelligence gathering. You're learning to read your own instrumentation, to understand your body's language, to interpret the signals that indicate energy levels, stress patterns, and system performance. Over time, you'll start noticing things that used to be invisible. You'll feel tension building before it becomes painful. You'll sense fatigue developing before it becomes exhausting. You'll recognize energy shifts before they affect your performance. This awareness gives you choice. Instead of being victimized by physical symptoms, you can respond to early warning signals. Instead of reacting to problems after they develop, you can address imbalances before they become serious. More importantly, you'll start feeling the subtle energy currents that flow through your body constantly. These are the same forces ancient masters learned to direct and amplify. Once you can feel them, you can work with them. Once you can sense them, you can strengthen them. The body scan is reconnaissance for power development. You're mapping the territory before learning to navigate it. You're identifying the instruments before learning to use them. You're establishing baseline awareness before beginning advanced training. Your flesh is indeed the foundation. Everything else builds from this base. Mental strength without physical awareness is unstable. Emotional power without bodily connection is unsustainable. Energy, mastery without flesh, intelligence is impossible. The scan begins now. Close your eyes. Feel what's actually there. Your power awakening starts with knowing where power lives. Feel the current before you direct it. Hold your hands in front of you, palms facing each other, about 6 inches apart. Don't touch them together, just hold them there and pay attention. Most men feel nothing. Maybe awareness that their hands exist, perhaps the temperature of the air between their palms, but usually nothing worth noting. Now rub your palms together vigorously for 30 seconds. Create friction, generate heat, then separate them again, same position as before, 6 inches apart, palms facing. What do you feel now? If you're paying attention, you might notice warmth, maybe a slight tingling sensation, perhaps something you can't quite name but definitely wasn't there before. That subtle something is energy, life, force, the same current that ancient masters learned to command with supernatural precision. You just generated it through friction, created it through movement, proved to yourself that your body produces measurable energy that extends beyond your physical boundaries. This isn't mysticism, it's physics, bioelectricity that can be felt, measured, and with practice, directed. Your hands are energy tools, not just for grasping and manipulating objects, but for sensing and channeling the invisible forces that flow through everything. Ancient healers could diagnose illness through touch. Traditional craftsmen could sense the quality of materials through their palms. Warriors could project power that seemed to defy natural laws. They weren't born with special abilities. They developed ordinary capacities that modern men have forgotten exist. Your nervous system extends beyond your skin. The electrical activity that powers your muscles and transmits your thoughts creates an electromagnetic field around your body. This field is strongest at your extremities, particularly your hands and feet. Traditional cultures discovered this through direct experience and developed techniques to enhance and direct these natural currents. But modern life has deadened your sensitivity to these subtle energies. You wear shoes that insulate you from the Earth's natural electrical field. You work with artificial materials that don't conduct life force. You live in electromagnetically noisy environments that interfere with your natural sensing abilities. Your hands have become crude tools for gross manipulation, typing, gripping, pushing, while losing their capacity for subtle detection and energy projection. It's like using a precision instrument as a hammer. It still functions, but you're missing most of its capabilities. Ancient masters trained their hands like modern musicians train their fingers. for sensitivity, precision, and subtle control. They could feel energy flows through the human body, detect imbalances in living systems, sense the quality and health of plants, animals, and environments through direct contact. More importantly, they learned to project energy consciously, to direct life force through their palms with specific intention and measurable effect. This wasn't supernatural power. It was developed sensitivity, combined with focused will. You can rebuild this capacity. Your hands still contain the same neural density, the same electrical conductivity, the same potential for energy sensitivity that made ancient masters legendary. The pathways are dormant, not destroyed. Start with basic sensitivity training. Hold your hands 6 inches apart, palms facing. Focus your attention on the space between them. Don't try to feel anything specific. Just pay attention to whatever sensations exist in that area. Most men discover they're completely numb to subtle energy. They can feel heat, pressure, and pain, but not the gentle currents that flow constantly between their palms. This numbness isn't permanent. It's learned insensitivity that can be unlearned through practice. Spend 5 minutes daily in this position. Over time, you'll start noticing subtle sensations you previously missed, maybe a slight magnetic quality, like trying to push 2 weak magnets together, perhaps a tingling or warmth that seems to move between your palms, possibly a density or thickness to the air in that space. These aren't imaginary sensations. They're real energy fields generated by your nervous system and detectable through conscious attention. Once you can feel them, you can learn to strengthen them. Increase the distance between your palms gradually. Start at 6 inches, then 8, then 10. See how far apart you can hold them while still sensing connection. Most people discover they can feel energy between their hands at distances that surprise them. Practice moving your hands slowly closer together and farther apart. Notice how the sensations change with distance. Feel for the optimal spacing where the energy seems strongest or most noticeable. Different positions will produce different qualities of sensation. Try rotating your palms in small circles while maintaining the spacing. Feel how movement affects the energy between them. Experiment with different hand positions. Fingers pointed toward each other, palms at various angles, one hand higher than the other. This isn't just sensitivity training, it's energy cultivation. Each time you practice, you're strengthening the circuits that generate and detect subtle currents. Like any other capacity, regular use increases capability. Ancient masters took this much further. They learned to sense energy in other people's bodies, to feel blockages, imbalances, and areas of depletion or excess. They could detect illness before symptoms appeared and restore balance through directed touch. They developed techniques for projecting energy with specific qualities: calming, energizing, healing, or protective. They could transmit their own life force to strengthen others or create energetic boundaries that deflected negative influences. This knowledge was passed down through lineages of healers, martial artists, and spiritual teachers, not as religious doctrine, but as practical skill. Energy projection was a tool like any other, useful when properly developed, ineffective when neglected. But you don't need to become a master healer to benefit from hand sensitivity training. Basic energy awareness enhances everything you touch. Food feels different when you can sense its life force. People's energy becomes readable through handshakes. Your environment reveals information through direct contact. More importantly, developing hand sensitivity increases your overall energy awareness. Your palms become sophisticated sensors for detecting the invisible forces that influence your daily experience. You start noticing energy qualities in places, situations, and relationships that were previously invisible. Try this experiment. Touch different materials and notice how they feel energetically, not just physically. Natural wood versus plastic. Living plants versus artificial ones. Fresh food versus processed food. Clean water versus tap water. Most materials will feel neutral or dead to your beginning sensitivity, but some will have distinct energetic qualities: warm, cool, vibrant, depleted, pleasant, uncomfortable. This isn't subjective interpretation, it's objective energy detection through developed sensitivity. Practice touching living things, pets, plants, people, with conscious attention to energy exchange. Notice how different beings feel different energetically. Some people feel energizing to touch, others feel draining. Some animals radiate calm, others feel agitated or nervous. This information is constantly available but rarely accessed because modern men have lost touch, sensitivity through neglect and artificial environments. Your hands are sophisticated energy instruments, but they require conscious use to maintain their capabilities. The goal isn't to become an energy healer or develop supernatural powers. It's to reclaim natural sensitivities that enhance your interaction with the world. To develop tools for reading environments, situations, and people that provide information beyond what your other senses detect. Your hands are weapons in the truest sense, tools for engaging with reality more effectively. Not weapons for harming others, but for sensing truth, detecting deception, feeling authenticity, and projecting strength when necessary. Ancient warriors could sense an opponent's intentions through energy fields before physical movement revealed them. Traditional hunters could feel the health and vitality of prey animals through tracks and traces. Master craftsmen could judge the quality of materials through touch alone. These weren't magical abilities, they were developed sensitivities that provided practical advantages. Enhanced information gathering, better decision-making, improved performance in activities that mattered. You live in a world where information is power. The more accurately you can read people, situations, and environments, the better your choices become. Hand sensitivity training develops one of your most intimate information-gathering tools. But remember, this is energy cultivation, not energy imagination. Work with what you actually feel, not what you think you should feel. Develop real sensitivity, not manufactured sensations. Build genuine capability, not self-deception. The lightning is already in your hands. Every nerve ending is a potential detector. Every palm is a potential projector. Every finger contains circuits capable of extraordinary sensitivity when properly developed. The current flows through you constantly. The question is whether you'll learn to feel it, direct it, and use it consciously, or continue living disconnected from one of your most powerful natural capabilities. Your hands are waiting. The energy is ready. The training begins with attention. Pay attention to what's actually there, and what's actually there will begin revealing itself to you. Uncontrolled emotions are energy leaks in a man's armor. You've been lied to about emotions, told they're signs of weakness when channeled poorly, told they're signs of strength when expressed freely. Both perspectives miss the truth. Emotions are energy in motion, and like any energy, they can either fuel your power or burn down your life. Most men handle emotions like children handle fire, either afraid to touch it or playing with it until they get burned. They suppress emotions until explosion or indulge emotions until exhaustion. They avoid emotional intensity or get overwhelmed by it. Both approaches waste the raw power that emotions provide. Ancient warriors knew better. They used emotional energy as fuel for superhuman performance. Rage became focused aggression in battle. Fear became heightened awareness in danger. Grief became depth of commitment to what mattered. They transformed emotional energy into usable power instead of being controlled by it. This isn't emotional suppression. This isn't emotional indulgence. This is emotional mastery, the ability to channel feeling into function, passion into purpose, intensity into action. But first, understand what you're working with. Emotions aren't just psychological experiences. They're energy events that affect your entire system. Anger increases heart rate, muscle tension, and adrenaline production. Fear sharpens focus, heightens reflexes, and mobilizes energy for escape or fight. Sadness slows metabolism, deepens breathing, and creates inward focus. Each emotion generates specific physiological changes designed to support particular types of action. The problem isn't the emotion itself, it's what you do with the energy it creates. Most modern men leak emotional energy through uncontrolled expression or waste it through suppression. They explode in anger without accomplishing anything useful. They collapse into sadness without learning from the experience. They scatter with fear without using it for protection or preparation. It's like having a powerful engine but no transmission. Lots of energy generated but no effective way to transfer that energy into forward motion. Real emotional mastery works differently. Instead of being overwhelmed by emotional energy or trying to eliminate it, you learn to channel it consciously, to use the physiological changes that emotions create as fuel for purposeful action. Anger generates tremendous energy. Your body floods with hormones designed to overcome obstacles and fight threats. But most men waste this power through explosive outbursts that damage relationships and accomplish nothing, or they turn anger inward, creating depression and self-destructive behavior. Warriors used anger differently. They channeled its energy into focused aggression against real enemies. They used its power to overcome obstacles that required extraordinary effort. They transformed rage into relentless pursuit of justice or protection of what they valued. The key is direction. Raw anger is like steam with no engine to power. Directed anger becomes unstoppable force moving towards specific objectives. Same energy, completely different results. Feel anger rising in your system. Instead of exploding or suppressing, pause. Notice the energy building in your body, the increased heart rate, the muscle tension, the surge of power that anger provides. That's fuel waiting to be used. Now ask, what action does this situation actually require? Not what would feel good to do, but what would effectively address the real problem. Channel the anger's energy into that action. Use its power to fuel whatever response is most appropriate. This might mean confronting someone directly but calmly. It might mean removing yourself from a toxic situation. It might mean working harder to overcome an obstacle. The specific action varies, but the principle remains. Use emotional energy to fuel effective action rather than wasting it through uncontrolled reaction. Fear works the same way. Your body's fear response generates heightened awareness, increased energy, and enhanced reflexes, all designed to help you avoid or overcome danger. But most men either freeze with fear or run from it unnecessarily. Warriors transformed fear into tactical awareness. The energy that fear provided became fuel for careful planning, thorough preparation, and precise action under pressure. They didn't eliminate fear. They used its heightened state to perform better in dangerous situations. When fear arises, don't fight it or flee from it automatically. Feel the sharpened awareness it brings. Notice how it focuses your attention on potential threats and available resources. Use that heightened state to assess your situation more accurately and respond more effectively. Most men either avoid grief through distraction or wallow in it through self-pity. Both approaches waste the emotional energy without gaining its benefits. Properly channeled grief becomes wisdom, compassion, and deeper commitment to what matters most. When sadness arises, use its inward focus to examine what you've lost and what you've learned. Let its energy fuel deep thinking about your values, priorities, and direction. Transform the pain of loss into clarity about what deserves your energy and attention. Grief that's processed consciously makes men stronger, wiser, and more focused on what actually matters. Grief that's avoided or indulged weakens men and leaves them vulnerable to future losses. The pattern is consistent across all emotions. Each feeling generates specific energy designed to support particular actions. Emotional mastery means recognizing these energy patterns and channeling them into effective responses rather than wasting them through uncontrolled reactions. This requires developing what warriors called emotional discipline, not the elimination of feeling, but the conscious direction of emotional energy toward useful purposes. It's the difference between being a victim of your emotions and being powered by them. Practice this with small emotional events first. Notice when mild irritation arises and channel its energy into problem-solving action. Feel minor anxiety and use its alertness to prepare more thoroughly for challenges. Experience small disappointments and transform their energy into renewed commitment to your goals. As you develop skill with minor emotions, you'll be able to handle major emotional events without losing power or causing damage. Instead of being weakened by intense feelings, you'll be strengthened by them. Instead of being controlled by emotional energy, you'll control and direct it. This is what made ancient warriors dangerous, not their lack of emotion, but their mastery of emotional energy. They felt deeply and channeled that feeling into focused action. They used emotional intensity as fuel for extraordinary performance rather than allowing it to scatter their power. Modern culture teaches men to either suppress emotions like machines or express them like children. Both approaches waste the power that emotional energy provides. Real strength comes from feeling fully and channeling consciously, transforming emotional fire into usable fuel. Your emotions are not your enemies. They're energy systems designed to power your responses to life's challenges. Learn to read them accurately, channel them effectively, and use them as fuel for the actions that matter most. The warrior's way: feel everything, channel everything, waste nothing. Your emotions become weapons when you learn to wield them consciously. Every inhale is a choice between power and weakness. There are breathing patterns that can make you superhuman. Not metaphorically superhuman, literally capable of performance that defies normal human limitations. Ancient masters knew these patterns. Modern men have forgotten them, but the codes still work. The breath codes aren't relaxation techniques or meditation practices. They're activation protocols for accessing altered states of consciousness and extraordinary physical capabilities. Warriors used them to enter berserker rage. Monks used them to generate internal heat in freezing temperatures. Hunters used them to track prey for days without exhaustion. Each code produces specific physiological changes that unlock different aspects of human potential. Some codes flood your system with oxygen and energy. Others create deep calm and laser focus. Still, others generate internal heat that can melt snow around your body. But these techniques are dangerous if misused. They're power tools, not toys. Improperly applied, they can cause dizziness, hyperventilation, or loss of consciousness. Master them gradually, respect their potency, and use them only when you understand their effects. The first code is the power breath, designed to flood your system with energy and increase physical capability. This is not the gentle breathing you learned earlier. This is forced respiration that dramatically increases oxygen and activation. Sit or stand with perfect posture. Begin breathing deeply through your nose, but force the breath in and out with muscular effort. Inhale powerfully, expanding your belly, ribs, and chest simultaneously. Exhale forcefully, pushing all air out through controlled pressure. Continue this pattern for 30 breaths, counting each exhale. Breathe faster than normal, but maintain control. This is powerful breathing, not panicked breathing. You should feel energy building in your system with each breath. After 30 power breaths, exhale completely and hold your breath with empty lungs. Don't strain or force. Just hold comfortably for as long as natural. When you need to breathe again, inhale normally and return to regular breathing. Notice the effects. Your body should feel energized, possibly tingling. Your mind should feel alert and clear. Your entire system should feel more alive and capable than before the exercise. This is the fundamental energy-building code. Ancient warriors used variations of this pattern before battle to access peak performance states. The forced breathing saturates your blood with oxygen while activating your nervous system for maximum capability. Use this code before physical challenges, mental demands, or situations requiring peak performance. But use it sparingly. It's designed for activation, not constant use. Overuse creates nervous system fatigue and energy depletion. The second code is the heat breath, used to generate internal warmth through controlled breathing. Tibetan monks made this technique famous by melting snow with their body heat, but it was developed by many cold climate cultures for practical survival purposes. Begin with normal breathing, then start retaining your breath after each inhale. Breathe in fully, then hold, while focusing intensely on your core, the area 3 inches below your navel. Visualize heat building in this area while holding your breath. Exhale slowly and immediately inhale again, holding once more while concentrating on internal heat generation. Continue this pattern. Inhale, hold with heat focus. Exhale, repeat. The holding phases should be comfortable, not strained. After several minutes of this pattern, you should notice actual warmth building in your core and spreading through your body. This isn't imagination. It's measurable temperature increase generated through controlled breathing and focused attention. The third code is the focus breath, designed to create laser-sharp mental clarity and sustained concentration. This pattern eliminates mental chatter and creates a state of calm alertness that allows for extended periods of focused work. The pattern is 1 to 4, 2. Inhale for 1 count, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 2 counts. Start with short counts. Inhale for 2 seconds, hold for 8 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds. Gradually increase the length of each phase as your capacity develops. This ratio creates a specific nervous system state, alert enough for sharp thinking, relaxed enough to avoid anxiety or distraction. The extended retention increases oxygen absorption, while the controlled exhale maintains calm. Continue this pattern for 5 to 10 minutes before activities requiring sustained concentration. The effects can last for hours: improved focus, reduced mental fatigue, enhanced problem-solving capability. The exhale should be twice as long as the inhale. If you inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 8 counts. If you inhale for 6 counts, exhale for 12 counts. The extended exhale signals your nervous system to shift from stress mode to recovery mode. Continue for 10 to 20 breaths, focusing on making each exhale longer and more controlled. You should feel tension leaving your body and energy returning to your system. This is active recovery through controlled breathing. Use this code after stressful situations, intense physical activity, or any time you need to shift from activation to restoration. It's particularly effective for eliminating accumulated tension and preparing for rest or sleep. The fifth code is the battle breath, designed for maintaining calm and focus under extreme pressure. Warriors developed this pattern for use during combat, when clarity meant survival. The pattern is simple but requires practice, steady, controlled breathing that maintains the SA-me rhythm, regardless of external circumstances. The breath becomes an anchor that keeps you centered when everything around you is chaotic. This isn't just breathing during stress. It's using breath as a tool for staying connected to your power when pressure tries to scatter your energy. Ancient warriors could maintain battle breath during entire campaigns, using it to stay calm and focused regardless of circumstances. Practice this during minor stress first. Use steady breathing during traffic jams, difficult conversations, or challenging work situations. As you develop skill, you'll be able to maintain inner calm during major crises. These codes are tools, not entertainment. Each pattern serves specific purposes and produces measurable effects, but they require respect, practice, and gradual development. Don't try to master them all immediately. Focus on one code until you understand its effects and can use it reliably. Start with the power breath for energy building. Master it before moving to other patterns. Once you can, use it effectively. Add the focus breath for mental clarity. Gradually incorporate other codes as your capacity develops. Remember, these are activation techniques that alter your physiological state. Use them consciously and appropriately. The power they provide is real, but so is the responsibility that comes with that power. Your breath is your most immediate tool for state control. These codes give you specific techniques for accessing particular capabilities when you need them. Master them, and you'll have conscious control over your energy, focus, and performance in any situation. The codes are waiting. Your breath is ready. The choice between power and weakness is yours with every inhale. Your deepest power lives below your belt, not in your head. You're wasting your most powerful energy every day, the force that creates life itself, the drive that built civilizations, the power that ancient masters considered sacred above all others, your sexual energy, and you're throwing it away on pixels and temporary pleasure. This isn't a moral lecture about right and wrong. This is an energy audit about power and waste. Sexual energy is the most concentrated life force in your body. When conserved and channeled properly, it becomes creativity, confidence, magnetism, and unstoppable drive. When scattered and depleted, it leaves you empty, anxious, and powerless. Most modern men live in a state of chronic sexual energy depletion. Constant stimulation from pornography, frequent release that provides momentary relief but long-term weakness. Artificial arousal, patterns that hijack natural sexual responses and redirect them toward fantasy instead of reality. The result is a generation of men who feel sexually satisfied but energetically depleted, who get temporary pleasure but lose lasting power, who think they're getting what they need while actually losing what they can't afford to waste. Ancient traditions understood sexual energy as the root of all other energies. The Chinese called it Jing, the fundamental life essence that powers everything else. Indian traditions recognized it as the source of ojas, the vital fluid that creates strength, intelligence, and spiritual power. These weren't religious concepts, they were practical understandings about energy management. Traditional cultures developed elaborate systems for conserving, cultivating, and channeling sexual energy. Not through suppression or denial, but through conscious direction. They recognized that sexual force could either be wasted through unconscious release or transformed into higse. Ancient masters developed specific techniques for sexual energy transformation. Physical practices that moved sexual energy upward through the body instead of outward through release. Breathing patterns that refined sexual force into mental clarity and spiritual insight. Movement practices that transformed sexual drive into artistic expression and creative power. The simplest transformation technique involves redirecting sexual energy through physical activity. When sexual desire arises strongly, instead of seeking release, channel that energy into intense exercise. Use the drive for something demanding, lifting weights, running, martial arts practice, or challenging physical work. You'll discover that sexual energy provides extraordinary fuel for physical performance. The same force that drives reproductive behavior can power superhuman effort in other activities. Warriors and athletes have used this principle for centuries. Mental and creative activities also benefit from channeled sexual energy. When you feel strong sexual desire, direct that intensity toward challenging intellectual work. Use the passion for focused study, problem-solving, or creative projects. Sexual energy naturally transforms into mental power when properly directed. The key is immediacy. When sexual energy is high, use it immediately for something valuable. Don't store it indefinitely. That creates tension and imbalance. But don't waste it carelessly. That creates depletion and weakness. Transform it into other forms of power while it's available. For most men, the practical approach is simple. Reduce artificial sexual stimulation, conserve sexual energy through less frequent release, and channel sexual desire into valuable activities when it arises strongly. Notice how this affects your relationship with real women. Men who aren't depleted through artificial stimulation have a more genuine interest in actual relationships. They're more attractive to women because they radiate vitality instead of depletion. They perform better sexually when appropriate because they haven't exhausted their drive through substitute activities. Sexual energy conservation also affects how others perceive you. People can sense vitality, and sexual energy is pure life force. Men who conserve and channel this energy have a presence that commands respect without demanding it. They radiate confidence that comes from internal power rather than external validation. But this path requires discipline that modern culture discourages. You'll face constant temptation to waste sexual energy through easy stimulation. Advertising, entertainment, and social media all profit from your sexual energy depletion. Resisting these influences requires conscious choice and sustained effort. Start gradually. If you currently release sexual energy daily, try extending to every other day. If it's every other day, try twice weekly. If it's twice weekly, try weekly. Find a rhythm that allows you to conserve energy without creating unbearable tension. Use the conserved energy immediately. Channel sexual desire into physical challenges, creative projects, or important work. Don't just retain energy, transform it into something valuable. The goal is power, not frustration. Pay attention to the results. Notice changes in your energy level, confidence, social interactions, and creative output. Most men are surprised by how much their overall capability increases when they stop depleting their most fundamental energy source. This isn't about becoming sexually repressed or afraid of normal sexual expression. It's about recognizing sexual energy as the powerful force it actually is and treating it with appropriate respect, using it consciously rather than wasting it carelessly. Your sexual energy is your creative energy, your life force, your deepest power. Conserve it, channel it, and use it consciously.